My pranams to all of you. It is truly beautiful in our life that we could be, with the divine grace of our Param Gurus, of the Divine Mother, of the Supreme Consciousness, that we could be brought into this world of Vedanta. Let us start with the salutations. Om Asato Mam Sat Gamaya Tamaso Ma Jyoti Gamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O Divine Mother, bless us all that we are taken away from this world of the samsara, which Krishna talks about, filled with suffering. There is joy, there is ananda in just understanding the separations from the joy to the ananda. And this is what is our prayer to the Mother and the Gurus. Take us from unreal to real, asat to sat. Take us from tamas, darkness of ignorance, to wisdom of light. Take us and way beyond the death. Today we're going to talk about this, understanding the supreme knowledge, the wisdom of Vedanta, with a spiritual oneness as health. There is so much of suffering going on everywhere. And one tiny COVID-19 can't even see is creating havoc in all of our mind. So let us understand what is Vedanta talking about. Is this the time to talk about spiritual oneness? Is it the time to talk about health? And just think, 1400 years ago, Shankaracharya is talking about, and it is not that the pandemic did not happen at that time. They were all along. And if you look at the history of the pandemic, it has been happening, and we as the human race, and especially in India, Bharat, we have been coping up with it very well. And human race has not been off the surface of the earth. So what do we do with this spiritual oneness as health? Let us understand, first and foremost, is the Vedanta. We keep talking about Vedanta. Vedanta is, Veda is the knowledge, and Anta is not end of all knowledge, which we used to think earlier. And by the scriptural meaning, it appears to be end of all knowledge. It is not. It is, Anta is like the knife, cutting edge of a knife. So cutting edge of the knowledge is Vedanta. Vedanta nama Upanishada Pramana. So to understand the Vedanta, we travel through Upanishads. And we apply it in today modern parlance. For people like you and me, we are very modern, highly westernized and Indianized with our rich culture and the heritage. And yet we would like to have the technology and the technocraft of the Western world. So we've become a little confused. So Paramahansa Yogananda in 1920, 28th of February, after 2 months of travel through the ocean, he arrived and he gave his first talk and brought about this oneness, what I'm talking about today, universal oneness, universal brotherhood. Paramahansa Yogananda has not been heard to create and display miracles. But he has, like Dayamata, 17 years of age, 17 and a half. She was present in the first talk and comes from a staunch Christian family. They owned a church, and she was wanting to look for something else. And she had her face filled with very bad scar marks. No doctor could cure it, and they said it's something to do with the blood. At the end of the session, Dayamata's mother took her to introduce to Gurudev, Paramahansa Yogananda, and say, she wants to come and meet you. And Paramahansa Yogananda, the first thing he said, oh, you must be quite ashamed of those marks in your face. Do you believe I can heal you? She was quite shy. She just nodded her head and smiled. And Paramahansa Yogananda, this is one of the very few miracles, though there has been a few more. I will talk about them. Spiritual oneness as hell. You become one with that spirit, the consciousness, and you can create it too. He put his hand around her face and he said, if you believe I can, may you be healed completely. That's it. And you know, Jesus Christ used to do the same thing. He told, do you think I can heal you? As thy belief goes, may that happen to thee. One of the very famous in the Sermon of the Mount, which we have gone through in detail, the first sermon is, blessed are the poor in soul, for they shall be inheriting this earth. In other words, if you are poor in soul, you will inherit this earth. That means the whole earth will become yours and you will be like a king and an emperor. It is so, but not the poor in soul in that sense, but in the sense of humility is the poverty. Poverty here is understood as Jesus wanted it, is humility. That humility, dear friends, my colleagues, my devotees, you and I have to continuously nurture and develop within us. It is very good to ask questions to understand it better. But it is very bad to say, I do not agree. No, agreeing and disagreeing to know more is a very good thing. But asking questions to know more, to understand. It is like I go to mathematics class in one of the top university and I want to be a math scholar and the teacher is showing and I don't believe the book, I don't believe the professor. I'm going to not learn nothing. A same way for talk about anything, whether it is academics or it is, let's say, mathematics, or it is cooking, or it is playing cricket. But understanding and having questions in your mind and asking again and again and again till it is clarified is a very good thing. You must ask questions. We continuously, as you all know, we have been blessed to have a world school. Not easy to become a world school. There are only 33 of them out of 183 in India. 183 are IB schools. Only 33 have qualified to be a world school. We have been blessed to be won by the Babaji and the Guru's blessing. Now, getting back to Paramahansa Yogananda says, universal brotherhood. And he says, if you embrace this understanding of the evolving the power from within, called yoga chitta duksha vritti nirodha, shall remove all suffering. And Dayamata was healed completely. Next day, she was not miraculously clean, but almost, and progressively she got healed. And thereafter, she came and asked Gurudev, I want to join. And she became the second president After Paramahansa Yogananda came Janak Maharshi, and then Dayamatha. So just see the journey is this called the unification is what I am trying to talk about. There has been, let's say towards the end, if I have little time, I'll talk about one or two more miracles of Paramahansa Yogananda. This is the spiritual oneness in which, in this spiritual oneness, when you embrace it, understand it, and start to work with it, what is it talking about? We generally know when we are sick, when we are ill, we need doctors, we need medicines to become well. And in the ancient time, in the yogis and all, they put the entire energy onto them and it said, come on, you will be all right. And somehow, with the divine grace, they did become all right. That was the ancient Indian way of doing it. Today, we are talking about is the understanding of the Vedantic way as well as the ancient Indian way, as well as embracing the Western science. So combining, coupling the whole thing, unification of West and East. Paramahansa Yogananda's second purpose of the visit, which was why Babaji and Larimase Yukteswar Giri sent him to the United States approximately 17 years after Swami Vivekananda had gone. In 1893, 11th of September was his first presentation, though he was there 2 months before that. And this is 1920, 28th of Sao. During this, he was guided to visit, Paramahansa Yogananda was guided to visit the United States and subsequently the Western world, because the Western world was racing towards materialism, body and name and fame. And East was poor in terms of finance and money and all that, but it was rich in spiritual heritage. So the West and East was to be combined, and which is why what the great masters went again and again to, and the first of them was Vivekananda in 1893, in which he quoted the first 1400 years ago statement by Shankaracharya, that the natural state of a human being, of a humanity, is good health, is not sickness. So that spiritual oneness, the moment you start to understand it and believe in it firmly, just like you just know. What is it? That I'm a human being. You know that I'm not a donkey or a monkey. Our teachers may have called me, I used to be called quite often, that we are not donkeys and monkeys. I think all of us used to be Vada, Chuha, Bandar, whatever used to be called by some hostile teacher or somebody like that. We are human. And second thing is, we are divine. This divinity is the one which is where the problem comes in, because we say, how? So we're going to deal with it. But this health, the moment you start to understand oneness, you realize that good health is you, not sickness, not disease. And Shankaracharya in one of his slokas is talking about introducing Mandakya Upanishad, talking about just as the sick gets cured and becomes well, which is its natural state, you and I, the moment we understand the spiritual oneness, you would be that attaining that health. Perfection is health. It's a powerful message. Illness is not. What is the purpose of the spiritual life? We're all sitting together, trying to understand. And if you follow the simple thing, which we have been again and again, we shall keep on talking about the spiritual oneness, is attain that purity in life. It's not difficult. Yes, it is trying, certainly, because we have grown up from the television and the screens of various kind and our WhatsApp and social media of what? of fraudity, not telling truth, telling lies. It become a part of it. Though India says Ashok Stamba Satyameva Jayate, that's also from Mandakya Upanishad. We don't follow it. So if we establish the truth, establish that purity of the humanity, the human excellence is the journey towards spiritual life. Spirit is that awareness, is that consciousness. Just like we are aware we are human being, just like you know you're a girl or you're a man, you know you're a lady or you're a gentleman. You know it. You just know it because you've grown up being one. Just as that, we have forgotten in this race who are we really, towards which we wish to taking on to the natural state from health and illness to restoration of the natural health. What is the duality and oneness? What our ancient Upanishad, just shooting off for one moment, Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, and Brahma Sutra are the three, the essence of Vedanta, all three. Vedanta, Krishna is talking to Arjuna, everything from Upanishad and explaining to him. That is that cutting edge of the knowledge with which he removed the darkness of the suffering, pain, illusion from Arjuna's mind. And eventually he went on to do what he was meant to do. And Brahma Sutra. Brahma Sutra is talking about the essence of the life in very powerful ways. Those of you interested, please take it on. So sorrow and suffering is because of duality. Why I'm talking about, often I find I have requested and I see all of you are keeping your camera on. The reason is why we switch off the camera. If you try and understand, it is not some rigidity. It's not fixation. It is just understanding it. Why do I, let's say, switch off the camera? The moment I switch off the camera, just think, okay, with me, I am putting a veil, like the burqa or like a screen in front of me. Why? Because I am different from you. I'm straight away isolating myself. And this is the reason we go and bang the door and lock ourselves in, whether in the washroom, if I had a fight with my wife or husband, or with my brother or sister, or with my parent, I go and bang and say, don't talk to me, don't disturb me. What am I doing? I am separate. I, the manas, the ego, is standing up and turning. And what does it create? Suffering. So this, what are the suffering from? Let's say a typical two friends. The moment I am different than you and I think different. Your point is okay, I accepted it. My point is separate. I don't agree with you. And the disagreement ends up with a country to country, or husband to wife, or a boyfriend, girlfriend, or friends, or brother, sisters, or colleagues, official colleagues. But the ancient India, the same thing is to be sorted out differently. In ancient India, supposing Ramanujam is not agreeing to something which Shankaracharya said, they were not same time, little different. What he would do is to the followers, he would say exactly what he wants to disagree. First, the rule was those days in the Vedantic way, you have to quote exactly what the other partner is saying, which I'm going to refute. If I'm going to refute, I have to first say it, knowing in the Vedantic language that I've understood what you're saying, which I don't agree. Beautiful way. You and I, have you realized when we are talking and arguing, let's say husband is saying something, I as the wife, I'm already building up in my mind what to say next. I'm not listening really. If I listen, maybe there was some good point and we could combine my good point and his good point and both the good points put together and make a beautiful life and come to and call essential agreement. And this was the request why I said, do not isolate yourself, become one. That oneness, let us understand the duality. How do I remove that? The sorrow and the suffering and the illness and solution is oneness. The moment I agree, there was a beautiful, so it's like a little joke. The husband says, I have no disagreement with my wife. He said, really? What a blessed guy. He said, yes, my wife does what she wants to do, and I do what she wants to do. So no disagreement. I'm not talking about that way. I'm trying to talk about coming to an understanding. And this is what the world is supposed to be, conversing, understanding. So that oneness of the Atman as one, realization of that oneness. So the question will come to you immediately, how can it be? Where is this? What is that oneness? Oneness, I am one with everyone? How can it be? The whole world is filled with duality, isn't it? Question will come straight away. I'm different. Men, women are different. Boys and adults and grown-ups and old, are they different? Their bodies are different. Name is different. Form is different. Mind is different. Country is different. Nationality is different. Language is different. Religion is different. And that's where all the fights and quarrels. How can we be one? And this is what exactly is the ignorance with knowledge. Tamasoma Jyotir Gamaya. Take me from ignorance to that knowledge. That oneness allows underlining oneness of the universe. The moment I become that one, I'm one with everyone and the universe. Let us take it on as we get along. If I have to quantify the entire learning of the Vedanta, entire learning of Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutra, as one sentence, it is Tat Tvam Asi. The third Mahavakyas from Chanakya Upanishad, where you've heard a lot about our talks on the Mahavakya, being told again and again, 9 times, it's told, you are that one. And natural question comes, how can I be that one? How is it possible? We're so different. So let us understand. There is one spiritual unity. And that oneness is spiritual. It's not just word. That real self called that Brahman, called Ishvara, is spirit, Atman, soul, the Brahman, oneness of the universe. All right, it sounds very cool, but this is what Vivekananda spread to the world, and Paramahansa Yogananda 27 years after that. It's the same message again and again. Vivekananda talked, if I have to put my mission in life in just 2 sentences, is to teach into the humanity the inner divinity, the divinity which is within, and manifest it in every moment of life. That means what? I don't have to run away to a mountain and Himalayan cave or desert. Like in the Jesus's time, after Jesus, they all went onto the desert and they were called desert father, and they used to live in the desert. Vedanta is saying you don't have to do that. You be in your home, be in the place where you have been placed by your supreme karma, by God, by Divine Mother, whatever way you like to believe in, by Allah. You play your role there, but manifest that divinity. Divinity is the human excellence, divine being. That divinity, once we establish, automatically you will find that oneness in its existence. Little more in detail as we get along. So we believe that we are like some glorified animal. We also are born yesterday, we will die tomorrow. In between we live, and during this time the physical universe is getting along and we are dealing with the life, and tiny things like coronavirus and things like that are coming and creating havoc in our life. This oneness seeing is being not through the eye, but through the inner eye, through the third eye, being conscious, being aware. So look inwards. Who am I? The moment immediate answer is I'm this body. And generally we say, I like to say, I'm a personality. I'm a person. Persona, the word, if you look at the etymology, it comes from the word called mask. In the Greek time, they used to do acting and they used to put a mask on. That persona, that's where the word came from. That the mask that you and I put on to visit this world. Well, look at it. How can I be the body? I, when I was a baby and then a little older and then little older and little older, I've continued to be constant. I am constant, but the body is changing. So which one am I? The baby body or the little older, 7, 8 years old, or the teenagers or the youth or the 30 plus or the 50 plus or 70 plus or dying plus? Which one? You would say, no, no, you are also changing. How? Because you're learning so much skills and things like that. No, that's the intellect is learning, the mind is learning. But I am remaining constant. You look at the experience of understanding, recollect, subject, object. You remember the English grammar. Subject is anything which does, object is being done to. In very brief. Subject is the one which is witnessing. I am the one who's experiencing. Let's say what about the body? I can experience my body with my all 5 senses. I can see myself. I can even, on a bad day when I haven't taken a bath, I can smell myself. I can touch myself. I can taste myself. So how can I do that? Who's this I who's experiencing the body? So subject and object. Subject cannot be the object. The body is object. What about the mind? So I cannot be the body. What about the mind? Let's look at the mind. Mind is continuously changing. Which mind am I? The one which is happy mind, the one which is fighting mind, the one which is confused mind, the one which is learned mind, the one which say, I love it, I don't like it, I understand it, I don't understand it. Which one? All of them put together cannot be. The mind is changing. I am remaining same. Again, subject, object. Mind is now becoming an object. So, unchanging subject is the one which where I cannot be the mind. I cannot be the intellect either. I'm not understanding. And suddenly I study and work hard and listening to my teacher, my professor, my guru. And I suddenly said, I got it. The intellect has suddenly made the connection. I cannot be that too, because just before that, it didn't know. It didn't understand. So remember the message of the Panchakosha. The first is we talk about the body, the mind, which we talked about, the knowledge, the Jnanamaya Kosha. So here, in the right at the bottom of this circle, if you see, is the Annamaya Kosha. So there is this lady, Hollywood actress, and I'm talking about almost 120 years ago. She was an Italian lady, and she's been quoted in some of our spiritual masters' book. She was very pretty. So somebody asked her, what's the secret of your beauty? And she very prettily smiled and said, pasta. Actually so. You notice the leopard, the animal, the lions and tiger, they eat raw flesh. So they're restless. Their nature is different. They're snarling. And look at the cows and the buffaloes and the giraffe. They're calm, they're peaceful, they're gently swinging and very peaceful. So that is Annamaya Kosha, the physical body is because of what we eat. And then the Pranamaya Kosha is the breath. I'm not the breath either. I'm not my body, I'm not my breath. So this is by the Panchakosha now system. I'm not my mind either. I'm not my Vijnanamaya Kosha, the knowledge sheet. And then comes the Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss, and then goes into the pure consciousness. So I'm neither one of them. The bliss, understanding, the mind, the energy, the body, going into. So then what am I? What is it that is witnessing the aware of the intellect, which I am trying to create and understanding the shining object? What is aware? The awareness. So I am the awareness. I am the understanding consciousness. The consciousness is the aware, which is this I, it's that awareness in which understanding it, like it. So that now we go on to the Mandakya Upanishad. Mandakya Upanishad talking about who are we? We are the four states, of which three states we are talking about here. The Jagrat, waking, the Swapna, the dreaming, the Sushupti, the deep sleep, and Turiya, the fourth state. I am the fourth state. I am none of that waking state. In this waking world, the samsara around me, I am not one. But notice in all four of them, it is the consciousness which is continuously going on and staying there in the deep sleep. And they come and go in one consciousness. I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not even the deep sleep state. I am that constant light, the awareness. I am that consciousness. This consciousness is the consciousness with which I am witnessing everything, everything in life. The body is born, consciousness is not. Consciousness continues to be. Before birth, it was there. After death, it would continue to be there. I'm free of all trouble, free of all sorrow. This is that I. This is not the ego. And this is what we think, the big I. Is the I, the ego. I don't agree with you. Who is that I is not agree with you? It's the difference. It is that oneness is missing. The moment oneness is missing, you're creating confusion, fight, quarrel, misunderstanding. The moment you go down to the class, if you are not agreeing with the teacher, the professor, the friend, what am I doing here? Isn't it? For what? Just to prove that I exist? That is where the Vedanta is talking about the beginning of all suffering on this earth. Body is born, consciousness not. It stays. When the body dies, consciousness will continue. Body ages, consciousness remains. Does not age with the body. David Chalmers, we have discussed many times, NYU, New York University, mind-brain consciousness unit. And this is what exactly is what Vivekananda is talking about, is express the divinity from within, express that divine being. And in every walks of life, not just in somewhere which is good or something, it is in every walk of life. And then he says that unification of the entire world. This is what Paramahansa Yogananda talked about, that one brotherhood everywhere. And this is what Swami Vivekananda spread, 1893, 11 September. Oneness. And this oneness, it does not depend on the color, the creed, the country, the sex, the richness, the poverty. It is irrespective of all that. This oneness is what we are putting into a block by not being. When the mind is in the greatest of the darkness, there is a point of light. And that light, you remember that when we fly through the cloud, you can see on the screen, you go through the cloud. Cloud is what? Is the samsara. is this I and you. We are separate. And your aircraft must be getting shaken up quite a bit. Maybe there is lightning, thunderstorm is going on, and whether in the mind or the world outside, this is what is separating. And I'm feeling very happy. I'm separate. I'm different. But this is the oneness which is causing the problem. And Vedanta is talking about unify that oneness if you want to be away from all sickness and disease. When you break the cloud, you come into the vast blue sky, that beautiful sky. That is that oneness, the divinity which Vivekananda told the world, which Shankaracharya has talked about. And Shankaracharya was not the first one. Vedanta has been for thousands of years. Shankaracharya is only 1400 years ago. But he amplified it, brought it to the world much more into it. And he's talking about this is like we are suffering with our body, suffering with our mind. And the moment you get connected to that consciousness, you are immediately, you're transformed to that clear, blue, beautiful sky. Daytime, beautiful sun. Nighttime, beautiful starry night. That's the consciousness which it's talking about. So this consciousness and mind, they are appearing to be, most of the people say they're one. No, they're not one. The mind is the one which you're experiencing. What is experience? Experience is anything that you experience. I experience this clock. What is it? It's an object. I experience it with my consciousness. If I'm unconscious, if I'm in coma, or if I'm dead, I cannot experience it. If I'm in deep sleep, consciousness is very little. If I'm in dream state, it's a little better, but still, I'm not. Or if I'm physically aware but ignorant, I'm aware, I'm awake, I'm physically awake, eyes are working, ears are working, but I'm ignorant. So I'm listening to the words that are coming in. And this is one of the reasons which I'm asking all of you, get out of this darkness of mind of keeping the camera off. It is for you. You have to get out of this block, nobody else. In this, the moment you do that, automatically you will see a different kind of a light of understanding will happen, which is the birth of the consciousness. And then you become aware. Otherwise, you're listening, but you're not making the connection because there is a war going on in between. So, are we aware of our thoughts? Yes, we are. But those thoughts are not me. I'm conscious of my thoughts. But it is revealed to be by my consciousness. And the mind is also an object. And so are everything else in this world that you find to be, that you are doing, in which free of all trouble is the consciousness, immortal, cannot be touched. The moment you get to taste it, you begin to realize what Paramahamsa Yogananda talked about, what Swami Vivekananda, what Babaji has spoken about. You have the power, but that power is right now occluded. In occlusion is like, you have a huge cloud, they call occluded cloud. Like the cumulonimbus cloud, you must have heard the name, like the tornadoes and thunder showers and everything else took place from similar kind of clouds. That is occluded, it gets obscured. Otherwise, consciousness is free of all trouble, it is immortal, it is waiting for us to get touched in. The moment you start to tap in, you are on the path of the Vedanta to understand that journey. That consciousness, everlasting, unchanging, timeless. Time and space stand still because consciousness was before. Time came way after. We will talk about the time and space some other time. The real self, the truth, the divinity within us is the breathing of the vastness. Discover this. How do you discover this? By uncovering. What is this uncovering? It's what we are talking about. Oneness. How do you do that? Soon enough. Now, if you look at it, the waves of the ocean. There are small, small bubbles and froths and waves, all kind of waves. There is tsunami wave, big wave, middle wave, small wave, bubble, froth. There are lakes, there is ocean, there is river, there is pond. But notice, if I say, they're all different. The moment we are one, we are not one, we remain different. The moment you say the wave has water in it, you are in ignorance. Yeah, the waves don't have water in it. I have this glass of water. Okay, understand? This glass has water, like wave has water. I can take this water away and glass will remain separate, water will be separate. But tell me something. Can I take the water away from the wave? Will the wave remain? No. So this is the same thing with the consciousness. Consciousness, if you take it away, the human body, the plant, the animal, this universe will vanish. Yours and my earth, the world will vanish if there is no consciousness. If you're not conscious, world vanishes. Now, the water itself has chosen to be the lake, to be the river, to be the pond, to be the waterfall, to be whatever it chooses to. It's the water, it may be the water vapor, it may be going into the cloud form and falling in as the rain. So to find this oneness is like you need to find something like water in you and me. And what is that? That is that consciousness in the objective. Object is different than the subject. Subject is I am the doer. Object is being done to. So waves are not different from water. But listen, water is different from wave. I as the subject is different from the object because I experience it. But objects are not different from me. Let's say in a dream state, you are in Sushupti state. Your dreams, as you wake up, you know it was different. Jagrat state, you saw the world. In the dream state, similarly, as you wake up, you say, oh, it was just a dream. The tiger was not real. Or that dance in Florida was not okay. It is just the moment away. And without the water, the waves disappear. Without the dreamer, the dream too disappears. This oneness of consciousness, it appears to be different. But experience of oneness in the consciousness, once it is there, you are Buddha.
You are Buddha.
I am the enlightened one. I know I am the one. It is different from consciousness. Appears to be different in order to experience it. Anything, the consciousness itself is the clock. Consciousness itself is this universe, the world, the you and me. But this is called the Maya, by which the name, form, ego, Nama Rupa Babhara, Mano Buddhi Chitta Ahankar, are the ones which is because of the Maya, same consciousness, through the Maya, and the next chart will show it to you. It appears to you as the knower and as the known. Subject and the object experience. It will sound to some of us boring. Why? Because the mind is not allowing it to go in. Because I'm different. I'm separate. So it would not. But the Vedanta, if it has come to you and me, it is to bring about that one underlying oneness in all of us. This oneness, we need to taste it, realize it. That underlining oneness is the essence of the entire Vedanta and expressing the divinity from within. In one sentence, Tat Tvam Asi. Two sentences express the divinity in every walks of life and realize this world as one. It's not separate. Sarvam Kullidam Brahman. Everything is one reality. It's the Brahma. And it's talking about Atma Vetam Sarvam. It's that oneness. So dreamer in all the things, water in all the ways, and you talk about the consciousness in every part of the reality. Is that unification of oneness is the essence of today's understanding. Experience in the absence of the consciousness is not possible. If I'm in coma with very little consciousness is there. So there was a talk going on in India itself. It was in Kolkata, sometimes about something like 24, 25 years ago. And there was a British scholar had come down and he was asking to everyone. So one of the Vedantists asked him, tell me, sir, in deep sleep, is consciousness there? And this British scholar said, no, there is only brain activity going on. There is no consciousness. And he said, sir, the difference in Vedanta and your science is this. In Vedanta says in deep sleep, only consciousness prevails. And then when you go on to the Turiya, consciousness is there as a seed form, which in turn, as we had spoken about before, takes birth as the dream state, as the waking state, and goes on to those states. We're talking about this one reality. Universe is one reality. Consciousness as you. Look at the clay in the pot, the famous Vedantic. Where is the clay? Where is the water in the ocean? Where is the clay? Everywhere. Top, bottom, inside, outside, everywhere. So that oneness of the clay, I can use the clay and make different kinds of pot if I have not already baked it. It has to be done before baking. I can convert that gold from one ornament to any other ornament. That one reality. Not seeing that oneness is the suffering in this samsara, is the war which is going on in the mind of duality. Anywhere, the fights to anything. Realizing this oneness is living in spirit, is living in the consciousness. And our journey is that spiritual freedom is what we need to go ahead and go beyond. The moment you do that, something powerful, beautiful happens. I would say I'm divinely blessed. I now 78 plus. I've not fallen sick. And it's a divine grace. 50, 51, 52 years. I am just picking up tiny pebbles in the seashore of this consciousness. Pick it up, become one. All this COVID-19, don't fall, come here. And don't say touch wood. It is not touch wood. It will touch the supreme consciousness, which is within you, which is Ishvara. And Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahman. Know that and become aware of it. So 7 steps to the consciousness. If you take in a very simple, this is again, will be in the material world. If the universe is one, it's called the Jagat. But in that Jagat is not visible to me, is not experienceable to me if I'm unconscious. I have to be conscious to experience that. The play of the 5 elements, Panchabhuta Kosha, which we talk about. In the Western world, they also have. In ours, we call it earth, water, air, fire, ether, etc. In the Western world, they call it the matter, the energy, the time, and the space. Coming onto the same five, in the five elements, where the moment the Maya comes in with the name and the form and the ego, and you and I become separate. And this is the beginning of the separations. Understanding that with knowledge is the awareness, the consciousness which dawns upon us and says, what a fool I was that I didn't understand it at all these days. So our intention is to know it, become aware of it. And uttishtata jagrata. This is what Vivekananda meant. Uttishtata, stop sleeping, arise and awake to the actual, what you call the reality is the awareness of the consciousness. And that is called Maya Vilasam, name and form, with the Maya coming in and the ego coming into the play. The Maya, the power of the consciousness, is the Shiva and the Parvati as per Kashmiri Shaivism. They call it in the consciousness called Chit Vilasa. So one is the Kosha Vilasa. From there, which is called the Jagat material world, called the Maya Vilasam. And this transformation happens basically because of the knowledge, knowingness, and the Maya, which plays the elusive role. And then in the Chit Vilasa, can the consciousness play? Can the physical things change? And appearance in the consciousness, in the whole universe is appearing, what we just discussed, through the consciousness. The consciousness is ever constant, but it is kind of the instrument to realize the object called the world outside with the help of our five senses. And just like the rope appears as snake, the snake was hidden in the rope itself. The rope is the world. And where was the snake? And where will the snake go? Supposing, just think, if the rope starts to think, actually I'm snake, this is what is happening to you and me. We think we are actually that snake. We're actually that body. We're actually that mind. And this is the journey that you and I have to take. The appearance is, this is called the Chinmayam in the Vedantic language, the clay to the pot, understanding every bit of the water, is the understanding the consciousness. This is the Chinmatram, consciousness alone. There is nothing else but only this. There is a beautiful analogy of the Vivekananda when he brought this to the world, the entire Western world. Just imagine, they were only filled with, just like you and me were before, totally engrossed with mind, body, I'm different, I'm so-and-so, you're different, you're so-and-so, and arguments and confusions, and I don't agree, I agree, okay, yes, no, confusion. From there, the same, India had not recognized Vivekananda at that point of time so well. Same thing happened with Paramahansa Yogananda. When he asked to go abroad, the father said no. And then eventually father got the message because Paramahansa Yogananda prayed and the message came to him and he gave him the money and he went off. He brought the whole world together and so did Vivekananda. The same Westerners, white skin, white haired, suddenly the pictures started appearing on the newspaper and India suddenly realized what is Vivekananda now. If you all have read a little bit about Tagore before he got his Nobel Prize on Gitanjali, a similar thing had happened. Same poems were presented in India, nobody recognized them. He translated it himself and he sent it and it got the Nobel Prize. Then there were 200 odd people came to congratulate him. Tagore did not even meet them. Yes, I'm not saying that was good act or kind act. That is Tagore's wish, and he's a great personality. He realized at that moment what is to be done, what is not to be done. In yours and my journey today, we need to understand, just see the journey which, Frederick Mayer, Director General, Frederick Mayer, he talked about in the UNESCO 1987 to 1999, 12 years. He has been the longest Director General till today. He says in 1987, when he took over Director General, you know what I'm talking about? 1945, UNESCO started. United Nations Education, Science, Culture, etc. 1945, they came out with objectives. And Frederick Mayer noticed when he became in 1987 the Director General, and he says, I am shocked that the three principles which the UNESCO has got as the objective, Swami Vivekananda, us Indian, he had that oneness of the consciousness. He brought in first principle, oneness and all. And UNESCO has got the same, that no discrimination, color, creed, sex, etc., the age group. The second, he says, take care of the destitute, the poor, and take care of them worldwide. UNESCO has the same. And the third, educate the woman of the country. Until and unless you educate the woman, educate the ignorant, there will be reluctance. That's the part of the lack of education. When we do not know, we say, how can it be? Just think. Just show me that mobile. If I had showed you this mobile, just think. 60 years ago and told you, come, use it. Talk to your friend in America. You would not have believed me. So some of you may be finding it difficult to believe right now, but it is the truth because we didn't know. 1902, 15th November, when? 1902, 15th November. There was an inauguration in London, a technical inauguration of various stalls were put up, like you see stalls in Pune, India. And Mr. Bishop Wright, who was the Lord, was asked to inaugurate it. So after he cut the scissor, the journalist came and said, sir, your two sons, Orville and Wilbur Wright, are having two stalls over here, and they're saying they're going to fly. They got some structure, they call it an aeroplane. What is your opinion? Bishop Wright smiled and said, my sons are not realizing. And this statement, what he said, it is there in the London Museum in a black ebony with a golden words. What is it? If God wanted us to fly, God would have made us wings and feathers. God would have given us wings and feathers. Just see, this is 15th November 1902. And 2nd December, just 18 days after 1902, please Google it and read it. Wilbur and Orville Wright filled the first aircraft. Today, if you talk about flying, it's a piece of cake. So this upliftment of the woman, the awakening of the masses must come first from inside. So we are today doing what? And this is why the ignorance is. We are going out to learn various skills from tiny childhood, learning to write, learning to read, learning to do mathematics, reading, writing, arithmetic. We call it 3R. But we're forgetting the 5 R's, the 2R, research and taking responsibility of what? Writing, reading, arithmetic, research, responsibility of Atma Vikas. You're not doing that, which is through the research. You make hypotheses, you make connections, then you come to deduction and you say, Eureka, apple has fallen, so it's gravitational force. How did he make it? Isaac Newton found it from within. And this within is the journey that you and I have to. But what are we doing? Right from childhood, go outside and learn, and then get a degree, and then say some work-related profession, maybe do an MBA in marketing or business management, or maybe a PhD and become a professor teacher, or go to Harvard, Stanford, or something like that, and get another, and come back and become a vice chairman because of my degree. Where from? From outside. What we are talking about, outside and inside, west and east, both should be coupled together. Ask any kind of questions to find out the truth. Understanding of those answers, deliberate on them. Ask yourself, close your eyes, Atma Param Guru. But Atma is not Manaha. Mind will try to tell you. Mind is what? Training. So why do we do this? Basically, we do it because of lethargy. Alas, don't feel like. I'm not okay. It's okay, all right. And this is what has happened, unfortunately, because of this power of the Zoom has given us the switch on the mic and switch on the camera. So today, in the world over, everywhere else, it is not allowed. And if you and I pay $60 or $600, then I will switch it on. I want to see everything. But when it is a free session, and especially Vedanta session, some of us, I notice, is still choosing to keep it on. It is your choice. You have the freedom to go ahead and do what you would like to. If you have any questions, you're welcome. Any question?
I have one question.
If you have no
Sir?
questions, yeah, sorry.
I have one question.
Yeah.
How do we change? How do we know when we change ourselves? I'm Achala. You.
Yes, Achla, I can make out your voice. It's very good question. Yes, you see, the self-realization comes from Atma Vikas, which is the understanding within your own self. Initially, it will come to you, Achla, as a surprise. And you will say, my God, I thought of it and it happened. I'll give an example. When you're changing and getting connected to this consciousness, which is you, and you're getting connected to yourself from Nama Rupa Babhara, name, body, form, to the consciousness, which is the supreme, you have a thought. And that thoughts get connected to that consciousness, which is this consciousness. Just think, Achla, this entire universe is created. The rainforest, the ocean, the mountain, the Mount Everest, the dolphin, the dog, everything by consciousness. The consciousness alone is the universe. Through the Maya, we've given it various names to form. So the moment it happens, the moment you're getting connected to that consciousness, Paramahansa Yogananda Paramahansa, he connected. Jesus Christ was so. But many, like Vivekananda, Paramahansa, they do not display it. Though they did. I will talk to you some other time. But the moment you do that, you will suddenly say, my God, I had thought about it. I'll give an example. Today, it's not an, let's say, a season for, let's say, it is the season right now, Alpha and the mango. The mango season is going on. Supposing you think about, I want to eat, and it was in some time when there is no mango. I feel like eating a mango, Alpha and the mango. And then your mind says, how can it be, Achla? It's just a very small example. And you will suddenly find somebody comes from the neighborhood and said, you know what? I had gone and I had bought this from Dorabji, a frozen Alfonso mango. Would you like some? I thought of you. This is a very tiny example. Bigger examples you will see as you're doing the meditation. You will suddenly start to feel that extreme calmness, the restlessness of the body, restlessness of the mind will start to dissipate. You will suddenly say, my God, I didn't move at all. And this happens why? Because you're getting connected to that supreme calmness. All these disturbances of the mind comes from the ego, comes from the mind, which is not one, different. I and you are different. The moment these differences come in, suffering begin, is the Vedantic language. The moment you see your suffering will start to reduce. What is that? How will you know? You will suddenly find that you're always going to smile. Somebody comes and does something nasty. And you say, it's all right. He'll become all right. Time will heal. And This is what is called education for character. Education, Atma Bodha, which will automatically bring out my inner nature, which is absolute calm and peaceful, not a turmoil ocean. It's a beautiful experience. And that journey is the one which Buddha explained beautifully. Achala, he said, he would ask, who are you? He said, I am the awakened one. So, Uttishtata Jagrata, we have to. The moment you realize that you will know, you will know. And you will start to get before that experiences. I'll give you another experience. You will come to know what's going to happen. You will come to know, let's say we look at a watch to know the time. You will know exactly within 1 to 3 minutes. And as you get purified, you will come to know exact minute. What the time right now? You don't need a watch. So all these connections happen to the time and space and the world outside. So what do you do it? Use it not to create miracle. Use it to help and heal other people. Heal. So there is this guy, Yogananda, flying in an aircraft and long hair, very handsome looking, and he was sitting right next to Paramahansa Yogananda in that aircraft. And that aircraft had a 2 hours travel. And that actor was looking funnily at Yogananda because he had a big turban and he must have had his sannyasi clothes. So Paramahansa Yogananda is saying in his own voice, it's there in audio record. He says, I thought, let me heal him. So he said hello, and he said, mind your own business. The Paramahansa Yogananda says, I am minding my own business. You are looking at me so funnily. You are disregarding me and trying to scorn at me with your looks. Let's do one thing. Let's talk. And at the end of these 2 hours, if I agree with what you're talking about, I'll become what you want me to. And at the end of it, if you agree with what I am saying, then you become what I'm talking about. Is that an agreement? That man, without smiling, grunted, and they started. Paramahansa Yogananda, at the end of it, it says, thank Divinity, Divine Mother, that I didn't have to become an actor because he agreed to me and he joined his organization. So yours and my journey is to bring this awareness, and you will know it will happen. Welcome to the world. Achala?
Thank you, sir.
Rajiv, you got a question?
Yes, sir. My audio system is not right, so I have mentioned in the chat. If you can hear me properly, you mentioned about the Vedantic solution for disagreement. The first step is to agree with the other party. What are the remaining steps?
Yeah, very nice. So what he does is, and this came into very prominence at that time. I'm talking about 1400 to 2000 years ago. You're supposed to exactly quote what the others have said. And after that, you're supposed to cut them down one by one by point by giving your point of view. And now once you do that, the second step after your step of understanding what he has said, then disagreeing with what he has said by bringing it out, and the other partner is supposed to now quote exactly what he has disagreed, exact statement, and then shoot them. And this is how it goes on in those days debates, the issue that used to happen. Good question. Paramahansa Yogananda, he gave one more. I happen to be witnessing that. This is in LA and in Mount Washington. From there, if you go down to Hollywood, when you drive down, and over there was one little place where Paramahansa Yogananda, he had created a temple which was right at the edge of the mountain slide, and right below was the ocean. And the height is quite a bit. And when you look down, it's a little scary. There are no railings and all that there. And that temple, he had created it for meditation with a glass case. Not very big, but quite big. Must be about, say, 1,500 square feet or so. And that whole building collapsed and fell down. So Paramahansa Yogananda, he's saying that I asked my Divine Mother, I said, Mother, God, why is it that you're taking this trial from me, that you let that fall? You know how much of effort we made it. He got a message in meditation. He said, there are so many in this universe who are continuously doing exactly what they're not supposed to do. Have you realized I do not punish them, but the punishment happens from them? And Paramahansa is talking about it. In that same seashore, what I wanted to talk about the miracle, he was with a few devotees. They were, if you've been to LA, you must have been, Rajiv, on that bench right near the seashore. There are benches. Sitting down on the bench, so some of the devotees said, Sir, we feel like eating a Scotch bread. And there was a bread shop, an isolated bread shop about 200-300 yards ahead. So those Paramahansa Yogananda said, go ahead and buy. So they went to buy. And then they came back. It said, the lady said they had only two left, and both had been already sold on telephone. That somebody is coming to pick it up. She can't give it to us. Paramahansa Yogananda saying. And Achula answered to your question and to all of us. This is the connection of consciousness. He said, I closed my eyes and I said, Mother, what is this? My children, they want to eat a Scotch bread and you cannot give it. And he says, I saw a light falling straight onto that hut. And within no time, that lady who's the shop owner came out and she was shouting and waving hands. So these devotees, Paramahansa Yogananda says, I told them, go back. She's wanting to say something. And when they go back, this lady says, that gentleman who booked two, he says, one is enough for me. They had one Scotch bread. These are small things which happen in your life. You call it miracle. I call it that's the reality. The difference between miracle and the reality, one is your knowingly happening, one is not knowingly happening. So we cannot explain, so you say miracle. Any other question?
Dr. Ghosh, good morning. Can I ask one question? Just a quick one.
Yes,
Safla here. So,
yes.
so even in your, previous lectures, we've always talked about different paths, right? There is karma yoga for someone who is, wants with the knowledge. Then there is the path of bhakti yoga. Now, in practice, like let's say for me as an example, I end up doing a little bit of each, and I don't feel that completeness coming. So, how do you know which path is actually the one that makes you progress?
Very good question, Sachula. Sachula, right?
Safala.
Yes, Achula's sister, no?
That's right. So that's right.
Okay, welcome. Welcome to the group.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful question. You know what? This confusion is there in everybody's mind. You're not the only one. And the beautiful path is given, laid down in the Vedanta, right from the ancient time. The Guru is Guru of Shankaracharya, Govindapada. From there onward, before that is Gaurapada. They all are talking about it, that follow all four paths.
Okay.
And which one more, which one less? Atma Param Guru. You will feel like, let's say you feel like doing little more meditation. You feel like you feel as if your body is frozen. You can't move. You want to open your eyes, you can't open your eyes. And you're enjoying that bliss so much, your body is as if frozen. You feel like being in it. Raja Yoga is taking prevalent in you. Suppose like you feel like, I didn't have a very good meditation, but today I feel like going out and giving it to those children or the destitute. I want to feed them today. I want to give them maybe 50 rupees each, a little bit of money for me, but a big money for them. I want to give it to them. Karma yoga. So, in very brief, they say you must have your not faith but knowingness. faith in the theistic religion. Have a faith in your guru, have a faith in the teacher, faith in the book. No, in Vedanta says, know it, understand it, and make an effort to get connected. That make an effort is opening up of the mind. You know, what we call is open-mindedness as per international baccalaureate teaching. You must be open-minded to receive it, then sure, go ahead and ask questions and talk and argue and come to an understanding. So have that openness, and then from there, Abhyasa Yoga, which is your Raja Yoga coupled with the Kriya Yoga, what we're doing is the part of the Hatha Yoga. Hatha and Raja are both combined. The supreme of the Raja Yoga is the Kriya Yoga. You practice them, follow them spiritually, ritually at one time and 2 times in a day with the exercises before and following it up and being still. And then side by side, see God in everyone. See God in your friend. See God in your enemy. See God in your husband, in your wife, in your children, in your friends. The divinity, the consciousness in them, oneness. And then learn by reading. Shravanam, Mananam,
Mananam.
Dhyasanam. All three of them. And Nididhyasanam is that, what is that called? Realization of that truth. I experience it. The moment you experience it, it is like, you know, what is the problem of the theistic religion today? You have to prove it. Where is God? Show it to me. And this has been the trouble for the thousands of years. And if you go to Europe and US, you will find big signboards showing dial 1-800 so number, those of you been through many time, and says pathway to heaven. And this is maybe a number of a preacher or a church or something like that. So it is what? Heaven is out there. Heaven is a place. Heaven is after you die. It's a time base. We are saying in the Jnana Yoga in Vedanta, if God is Sarva Vyapi, if God is Anantam, if God is Advaitam, God is right now here, right now in you, right now in everyone. Start to see it. So what is the essence of that message of the Jnana Yoga? Don't find fault in anyone. Look at their strength. And the moment you do this forward, you will find automatically your life is transforming. When you're saying, I'm not finding it happening very much, it's a very good understanding. Remember, it's just about to open. There is a guy who went for mountaineering, and as he was climbing through the evening, through the night, and big blizzard, storm, snowstorm broke place. And he wanted to now come down to the lower. With the rope, he came down and down and down and down, and end of the rope. As per all calculation, he should be touching the ground. But he was swinging with his toe, he was trying to find, and there were no other friends. He was alone. And he was found dead in the morning. And you know what? He was just exactly 1 inch above the ground. All he had to do is let go. Let go of the rope, he would have landed on the ground and he would have been. So sometimes you have to have this knowingness, knowing it can't be wrong. Masters have spoken about it. And if every master can do it, why not me? So this is the message from Vivekananda. He says, it is not the birthright of Jesus, of Buddha, or Vivekananda to be Vivekananda, Jesus, or Buddha. It is yours and my birthright too. We have to open up our windows.
Open up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Akasha Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Vayu Shanti, Jalaspataya Shanti, Gaur Shanti, Vanaha Shanti, Chittaha Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May no one suffer. May all be protected from ignorance and taken to the wisdom and the light of knowingness. May all be protected with the supreme sheath of the Divine Mother, God, Krishna, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Babaji, Mahavatar, the Kalpa Yogi, the deathless master, Paramahansa Yogananda, Sri Sri Yukteswar Giri Lahiri Mahasaya, Swami Sri Vivekananda, Holy Mother, Paramahansa Ramakrishna, all the gods and goddesses of all religion, all the gurus and the teachers of yesteryears and now and the tomorrows to come, may we be protected. Hold our hand and take us across to that beautiful place of knowingness, oneness and all. May we be allowed and may we be blessed to express the divinity from within. Om. Check.